What are your issues, Barrett? Like, what do you want to focus on? What's your campaign going to be based on?
Yeah, I'm trying to distill it to a couple important things. There's subcategories to each, but I think for most of us, homelessness is at the top of the list. And I'll before I mention the next one, I can speak to that a little bit. So let's take Alameda Park. That's in District 4. It's where my parents always took me and my sister growing up to play. I love Alameda Park.
Did you play at Kids World? Are you that young?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Josh, we're not going to take our son there to play.
No.
It's off limits. Mm-hmm. And that's sad. Mm-hmm. And so I see two types of homelessness in our city. I work downtown. My office is downtown. I see it every day. And I see people struggling with homelessness who may not be receptive to services the first time someone approaches them, but these are people who will accept services. And they are people who need and want help. And those people we have to help. I see another category of homelessness, which is predominantly a lawless type of homelessness. And we've all experienced this, and it's only getting worse. And I'm talking about the type of homelessness that intentionally sets fires, the type of lawlessness that vandalizes property and businesses, that keeps businesses from wanting to open in Santa Barbara and helps shut them down. The lawless element that exposes themselves in public in front of women and children. And that is a threat to our community. It's a threat to the basic public health and safety of our community. And I will be strong on homelessness. That said, I deeply care about people who experience hardships and some of the most challenging hardships. And for the last 10 years, I've served as a volunteer with the Sheriff's Department at the Santa Barbara County Jail. And I go in and I'm present with inmates. I'm with them where they live. And many of those have experienced homelessness. And it's some of, if not the hardest work I've ever done. And, I go in every week. I haven't been able to during COVID, which has been really hard. But I'll be honest, it's hard for me to go in there because the work is so challenging. I can tell you every time I leave, I am filled with joy and hope because people's lives change. And it's not just the work in the jail, it's when these folks get released and we make huge efforts to stay connected to them. We build trusted relationships with them and we get them back on their feet. So with that on the ground experience, the challenge breaks my heart, as it does for many. But I feel that the issue in Santa Barbara is fundamentally solvable, not just manageable, but solvable. And so I look to cities in California who have been able to do that better than others. And what impressed me so much January of this year, so we're still at the peak of the pandemic, and Bakersfield announces that we are the first city in the state of California to be at functionally zero for homelessness, for chronic homelessness, the toughest category of homelessness. And Bakersfield, for a long time, has had a strategy and an action plan to implement that strategy. And our city needs to be proactive in that. And we have had a reactive leadership, not just on homelessness, but on many, many issues. And I would not call reactive decision-making leadership. It's simply reaction. And I think we make our worst decisions as a city when we are reacting to the next crisis or problem, rather than getting ahead of it like Bakersfield has done. And I won't go into too much detail on this. I'm sure there are going to be many conversations we'll have over the next few months, but the things that have impressed me most about their program, and they've contracted with this group, Community Solutions, who we need to start talking to now. So in our reactive style of leadership, or lack thereof, decision-making, let's take the Loma fire, for example. We had to scramble to find capacity for homeless living in dangerous encampments, which is a less than perfect solution. It's not a solution. It's just a reaction to a major problem. Well, Bakersfield worked with their housing authority, close partnership with their housing authority. And I can tell you, I can assure you that our housing authority is better equipped than any other housing authority in the country, in the state. And they created a master lease program. So they went to hotels, motels, landlords. It didn't even matter if the apartment was successful. They got the funding through a grant from Kaiser Permanente to master lease. So overnight, there's capacity. Mm-hmm. And they had a place to put people. They didn't have to build emergency encampments in the downtown to take one problem and then make another problem worse. So I'll end there on the topic of homelessness, but it is a solvable problem, and it's time our city approach it that way. Second, I can no longer sit back. I say sit back because Planning Commission, we're just an advisory group to council. We make recommendations, decisions on projects, but policy, we don't have that authority. We're in a perpetual state of decline in our downtown. Homelessness is a big part of that. I mean, we have to, it's the most awkward way to get to your office in the morning, or your retail store, or your bar, your restaurant. You have to step over people living at your storefront. If we can't solve homelessness in our downtown, it's not going to get better. It will continue to decline. And before the pandemic, business owners in our downtown core were polled on their struggles. What are the biggest issues for you? And it was homelessness. It was homelessness. And a big part of that was the lawless element of homelessness and the lack of our enforcement of our ordinances. We have a sit-lie ordinance on State Street. We don't enforce it because we don't have a place to put these people. Right. During the pandemic, those same business owners were asked, what's the biggest issue? Once again, it was homelessness. Nothing's changing. It's just been exacerbated. In terms of the downtown,
was down with an illusion, like a sparrow with broken wings, but now I shine with your reflection on me. getting back up on my feet.